This is Creepy and Geeky, a part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcast Network. Welcome to a special bonus episode of Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and today will be a little bit different from the usual episode. I won't be talking about any movies this time, but instead about books. In fact, this episode is a conversation with author and frequent guest and friend of the show, Cat Voleur. She has a number of books already out or coming soon, and we will be talking about all of those and more today in anticipation of her new book that debuts the same day as this episode airs. And that book is The Desert Island Game. Welcome back to the show, Kat.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We had you on talking about movies, both creepy and geeky. And now we get to have a whole episode devoted to you. So this will be a lot of fun.
It's called like creepy and geeky and nerdy for books.
There you go. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of your work. I've been trying to jump on everything that you put out. I haven't done so many of the gotten into so many of the anthologies that your work has been in, like the separate anthologies. Like I have the ones that Angel has put out, Angel Krause.
Oh, okay.
Like the 2-bathroom ones
and Livestock. Did you get Livestock?
Yep, I have Livestock. That's the only one I've read of hers so far is the Livestock one. I haven't read the other two quite yet. I'm very slow at reading, so this is going to be an interesting podcast. But I have read at least 3 of the books that we're going to be talking about today. So
that's fantastic.
That's good. Yeah, no, and that's what I like about your writing. Just to jump in real quick, I'll go ahead and just real quick is that I like that your writing so far has been very quick and easy to read. Like it's not. I like that you do novellas or short stories that I haven't had to like get too much in the weeds of like a big novel.
It's so funny that you say that because today is today release day, not today recording day.
Yes.
Peek behind the curtain, we're recording a little bit in advance here. But January 15th today is I actually have another anthology coming out. I was asked when was good in my scheduling, and I was like, whenever in January, because I didn't know that Desert Island Game was going to be coming out on the 15th. It was supposed to be coming out in like March.
Okay.
It was supposed to be coming end of the first quarter, but we bumped it up because the editing for it went very, very smoothly. And then I ended up with 2 releases today. But the other one that's coming out today is an anthology from Ruth Anna Evans, who I believe also had a story in Livestock. And it's a girls coming of age horror
Dark
anthology.
Blooms, right?
Dark Blooms, yeah.
Yes, I've already pre-ordered that as well.
And it is I half of that book is me. My story is so long.
Oh, that's too funny.
It was like my second or third time ever being invited to an anthology, and I was like, I'm working on this weird thing, but it's long. And she's like, I would love to have like 2 or 3 long stories in there. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like how long can I go with this? Like what's the cutoff hypothetically? And she's like, well, I think we're gonna have like 2 that are like 15,000 words. And I was like, done. But then I was the only one that did one that was that long. So Dark Blooms is coming out, and there's just like this big chunky story in there, and I was like, oh, I could have sent anything else to this.
Well,
but
I'm looking forward to that too.
Before I ruin this reputation, I currently have one for being succinct, for telling like short little quick stories.
Yes. Yeah, no, and I think your stories are interesting too, because at least 2 of them end on weird, like kind of non-endings, and that's what I'm gonna say with like Desert Island Game and Revenge Arc.
Yeah.
They leave you wanting more. That you build a good world in these that I find fascinating. And yeah, and just for everybody's edification, I didn't just buy the book and then read it real quick on release day. No, I was able to get an early copy of Desert Island Game, so which was very nice of Kat to do. And
I appreciate
I
it. I always get
yeah
excited when you're willing to be one of my art graders. I
yeah
was very pleased that you were still willing to be an art grader after Puppet Shark. I feel I feel like I pulled the carpet out from everyone on that one because I was like I just sent out a thing on Twitter where it was like, who wants to arc read for this thing that I'm working on? And everyone knows me as a horror writer, and I got like a
yeah.
lot of people that were like, I would read anything for you. And then I sent out Puppet Shark, and it's like, oh boy, how
And the
far
funny
can we
thing
push
is,
the term anything?
you know what though, that was actually a good read, and it was actually, to me, is better than the movie, honestly. And
Oh,
and the funny thing is I've actually had one of the co-writers of the movie on the show also. So yeah, I had Janet Hetherington on the show before. She's one of the co-writers of the movie Puppet Shark, and the movie's not bad. Let me just say that it's very much what it is. It's kind of a kids movie more than anything else. It's very tame, very silly. It's got kid actors in it. And so,
yeah.
but you managed to, and I even said this in my blurb for the book, that you managed to, flesh it out, and create a bigger world in a way that made it more interesting and more fun than the movie ended up being. And I think in if I had watched the movie before I read the book, I might not have been as interested in reading the book because I would have been like, well, what more am I going to get out of this? But that was what was fun about the book. Was I read the book first, then I watched the movie, and the book is just a lot of fun. So anybody who hasn't read Puppet Shark, it's very silly and very weird, but definitely read it because it's fun.
I
And that's
appreciate
what
that.
was most important to me, that it was
That's
fun.
what I was
Yeah,
going for. And I felt like I had to flesh it out a little bit just because and for usually with novelizations, because they're novels, there's like a strict, it has to be over 50,000 words.
yeah,
And Ron, who I worked with to secure the rights to Puppet Shark so that I don't get sued, uh, Mr. Ron Bonk over at SRS Cinema he was very laid back about this. And he was like, however long it ends up being, you know. So I was like, okay, so I'm not going to have to add a lot. But then I think for novelizations, it's kind of the writer's job to like smooth things over. And
yeah,
and like rewatching Puppet Shark every night that I was working on that book, the dialogue is just so endearing that I
yeah,
had a really tough time cutting anything because and
yeah,
it's like you said there were kid actors and like a lot of the lines were obviously improvised. Like this was a family
yeah,
group effort and stepping as in as an outsider, it was like I would much rather add stuff in with the dialogue to kind of make it my own that way. Or not in
yeah,
the dialogue, add stuff in the narration to make it my own that way rather than like cutting stuff or changing stuff or I because I think the fact that it is so rough around the edges makes it special, you know? So,
yeah. No, and that's what I think you did well at, because you didn't really take anything out. You just kind of added that narration, which gave
yeah.
you more, I guess, context for everything, and made it, I don't know, flow better in my mind. That it just was, it worked. It worked really well for me. What was the reaction from the filmmakers?
Um,
Have you found out
I
if
have
they
not
liked
found
it
out
or
yet.
not?
We're
Okay.
friends on Facebook now, so I haven't been canceled by the filmmakers. They're not horrendously
Good.
mad at me. Um, so there's that.
Well, that's good. That's important, and to know that at least they appreciate it somewhat, even if they haven't,
Yeah.
like, said anything necessarily about it. It's bad about it anyway. So that's
Yeah.
good. But
It's a
yeah, let's
comfort.
talk about the Desert Island game real quick. It's your new
Yes.
book, just came out today, along with Dark Blooms, which we can also talk about a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, but the Desert Island game, it's tell me tell the audience what it's about.
The Desert Island game is about a woman who wakes up the morning after the world has ended, and she is still alive, which she did not expect to be, and she is trapped on like a tropical island paradise with her lover. Uh, and they've only just recently gotten together, and it's about their relationship stuck on this island with no outside influence whatsoever. So,
Yeah. It's very interesting because you give just enough information to be frustrating. So as a reader, I'm frustrated the entire time because I'm like, yeah, but what happened to the world? Why did it happen like this? Like what, you want all the backstory of it all. Like I want
yeah.
to get into that, like that nitty gritty background of it all, and you don't do that. So you're very focused on the relationship between the two women and how that unravels. Um to put it mildly, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read the
Yeah.
book yet. So,
It's
but yeah,
it's
it's
another one. It's like
things.
revenge arc. It's hard to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And and not just because you don't want to spoil anything, but it's just hard to talk about because it's one of those books that's like both this and revenge arc. There's so much going on, but there's so little going on also.
Yeah.
Like you're very good at like telling a story without giving too much away so that the audience really kind of wants more at the end. You're just like, you get to the end and you're like, wait, but that's it. I want more. I need more sequel. So,
So my trick for this, for writing like the concise little you want more at the end novellas, I'm actually a chronic overwriter. Like my rough drafts are so long. And then it's like, but then because I like reading novellas like this, where you kind of
right,
get to the end and you're like, what? So I can pare back from the like big, long, you know, 50
right.
to 70,000 word version. It's like, okay, what can I chop out of this? Like,
So
how
there is,
much does someone else need to know about this? And the answer is usually not that much.
so you wrote the book you wrote is actually longer, has more detail and stuff like that, but you've just
Yeah.
cut it all out so that it just, you know, is a quicker, faster paced book.
Yes. This one not
Hmm.
always. Sometimes I write a novella and it's novella length, but
Right.
Desert Island Game was like a big book and it
I
just
feel
like
like you
one
kind of need
piece at a
the background and
time.
stuff. Yeah.
I was like, I how much of this because there was a lot of stuff that happened like it was a very personal story. It got into a lot of their dynamic before they got there and
Oh,
there
okay.
was a lot more stuff about like how the world ended and stuff and it's like I don't think we need it. I think it's okay to just let's take the stuff from the island. And then that version was actually shorter because it was like I just cut and paste the island stuff. And then I kind of like found a balance too where it's like, okay, how much can we reference stuff that happened off the island and this is kind of where we landed.
That's funny. Yeah, no, it works. I'll say that. It very much works really well. I enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure I gave it a very good review on Goodreads. Um,
Which I
but yeah,
appreciate.
yeah. Um, but yeah, it's definitely, yeah, I gave it 5 stars. So uh but yeah, it's filled with a lot of tension, and there's a lot of confusion going on, which is good though. It definitely puts the reader off kilter the whole time because you're just like, what is actually going on? Is this real? Is it not real? You know, so is there something supernatural happening? But you don't ever explain that. So, and I can see where some readers would be very frustrated
Oh yeah.
um with especially this and revenge arc. Readers could be very frustrated in what you're doing with this stuff, and I would say to a degree I probably would be too, but I think that I enjoy the not the not knowing, because of course I want to know, but more just like I've enjoyed the story so at this point that I'm just like, okay, fine, don't tell me anything. But that's kind of life in general too. You kind
Yeah.
of fall into a story and you never hear the end of it and you're just like, okay, well, I guess that's all I get to hear about. So it's interesting. So but yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Anybody who's interested in a nice tight little horror story, definitely go check it out. It's a lot of fun. um Check
it's a
out my
fun island read. Take it on
yeah,
vacation
yeah,
with you.
exactly. Make it one of your 5 books you take with you to the island.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, that's it's definitely a fun read. And that was part of part of the impetus for doing this episode was because I'd had, 3 reads in a row by you, Revenge Arc, Puppet Shark, and this one that I enjoyed. And I was just like, you know what? You're a guest of the show. Let's get you on. Let's talk about your books and what the future is bringing.
I
So
appreciate it. I was afraid to schedule anything this time around because I went on sort of a podcast tour for Revenge Arc and I did a bad job.
oh really?
And then I was kind of afraid to schedule anything, and I really appreciated having an offer. I yeah, the
Yeah.
thing was is I like my editors kind of pushed me. They're like, it's going to be really hard for a summer release to get podcasts like in the summer unless you schedule in advance. So I did that. And then all of the ones that were like pre-recorded that I had done in the spring were like ready to go and kind of out in the spring. And then all of the ones that were in the summer had canceled on me.
Oh
And I
no.
was like, because I had scheduled them too far in advance. And it's like, oh no.
Right.
But then January has just kind of crept up on me though. Like
Yeah.
it's
No, I think
here.
well, and it's like, this is what 2 weeks after the holidays, after the end of the year. And so,
Yeah.
and the end of the year is so busy that it's just like once you get into January, you just kind of want to relax and
Yeah.
just not do anything. So yeah, I can see where this would be like, oh crap, my book's about to come out. And not only that, but you got 2 coming out, or
Yeah.
a book and a story and an anthology. But yeah, I want to talk
This is the
about
best
Dark
show I could go
Blooms.
on anyway.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I love being on here.
Yay, I love having you here. But yeah, let's talk about Dark Blooms. That's Ruth Anna Evans' new anthology that's out
Yeah.
today as well. I pre-ordered it. I'm excited to check it out. Um, it sounds very fascinating. And it's why don't you tell us again what the anthology is about itself and give us a hint as to what your story is about.
It is so the anthology itself is a girls coming of age horror anthology. And there there was a specific like when Ruth Anna opened calls for it, she was like, I don't want to read a bunch of stories about menstruation. Like that's the one thing I don't want from this.
Yeah.
And no one do that. If you send me a period story, it had better be the best one ever. And I was like, Ruth Anna, that's me. I'm gonna do that.
Oh no.
Uh, and yeah, it's long. This was another one. I think my rough draft was actually closer to like 20,000 words. It arguably should have been a novella. The
Right.
rough draft was kind of crazy. It was very a Clockwork Orange-esque in that I
Oh,
had invented a language for it. It was done entirely in fictional cat German slang, and then I had to roll it back some to get it down short enough that
right.
it could go in the anthology. Which Ruth Anna Evans, to her credit, she said that I could go crazy and have fun, and she did not ask me to take out all of the German slang, but I do think she appreciated when I sent her a version that was where that was cut back.
Yeah. That's funny. All right. Well, yeah, I'm excited to check that out. Um, it sounded like an interesting concept, and of course, I'm sure I saw your name being on the book, so I was like, okay, she's got a story in there. I'll check that out too. But I've been getting a few of Ruth Anna's uh books and stuff as they popped up as she's had them for sale. On like the stuff that she's been putting out. So I've been like,
Yeah.
I haven't read any of them yet, but they all sound really cool. So I'm like, okay, I gotta grab all these. I'm trying to read more. I'm not being very successful at it lately, but but I am trying to read more.
It's been
Um,
a busy season, and she's fantastic. Like I love her
yeah,
work. She really is. So I'll overwrite, and then I can kind of cut back to the point where I have faster paced stuff. That's just how she writes. Like she's just a very fluid, like you're in and
nice.
out, and you leave like devastated and scared. It's she's very,
That's
very
cool.
talented.
Good, good. Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited to read more of her stuff. I'm sure I read her in livestock,
Yeah.
but I can't remember anybody's story, not even yours at the moment. But I'm sure it was good. But yeah. Well, that being said, let's go back. We've kind of talked about it a little bit, but let's go back to Revenge Arc,
Yeah.
which was kind of your first big book, right?
It was. Yeah, that was my
Oh,
debut.
okay, yeah. And I did get sent an arc of that because I'd requested that. But that was before the comic book pages were put into it. And but
Oh.
I still didn't read it until after it came out. Once it came out, I had ordered the digital version of it.
Mhm.
I just do better on digital.
Yeah.
And so I ordered the digital, and as soon as it released, I gobbled that up. I think I read it in like 2 days, I think at most. Um, and that's a fascinating story because again, as I said earlier, it's frustrating because it's got a an ambiguous ending. Um, and leaves you wanting more and leaves you with so many questions that those of us who've read it have theorized what's happening. And you
Yes.
told me that you've had multiple people like said you, okay, is it this thing that's happening? And none of us are quite right. So
Yeah, it's people are getting I feel like we're kind of like circling we're orbiting what happened, but
right.
I have yet to see anyone like 100% nailed what's going on in that one.
I was hoping I got close, but you weren't very committed to telling me whether or not I was, which is fine. I get it. But but yeah, no, it's an interesting story. Why don't you tell us what it's about real quick?
Revenge Arc is about a comic book writer, Riley Langdon, who is uh she goes on an internet hiatus because there's a murder that happens that shares a bunch of similarities with some of the kills from her comic that she has written. And the entire story takes place online. It is modern epistolary, found file, so it's all true to source formatting in like the Twitter messages and the Discord calls and
Right.
um yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
And
really cool. I like that epistolatory fashion of that of using like chats and Twitter and Discord and everything. It makes it fun in that way because it takes that format that lots of people are familiar with, like say Dracula or
yeah,
Carrie, where they're told in news stories and everything, but it's made for the modern era, which is very cool. And
it's
and translates very well, but
it
you had to do
does.
like a lot of formatting for that to work because letters and news stories are a lot easier to do in books than it is to do you know web pages and stuff. So
And I know I talk about this all the time, but the Archive of the Odd Team, they're my publishers, and they did a fantastic job with all of that formatting and stuff. I've now moved into freelance formatting, and I can't do anything that amazing yet. I'm still in like the early stages of learning how to do stuff, but they did like the team over there, they did fantastic. It does look like it was posted on the websites and stuff, and it has a very unified feel. Um, I'm a big fan of reading epistolary stuff like this in contemporary times, but I don't know anyone other than Archive who is formatting quite this way. So I was very blessed to get the opportunity to work with them.
yeah, no, it came out
Yeah.
really good. I like it a lot. It's you know it was I think it was the first thing I read of yours. I'd read the livestock story before, but I think this was the one that made me go, "Oh, this is really good. This is really." And I'd already had you on, and we'd already kind of become friends at that point. So we So it was fun to kind of read your story and go, what the fuck is going on with this thing? So
That's the reaction I want people to have when they read my stuff.
yeah, no, it's really good. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely going to leave you with more questions than answers. And I've already told you I need a sequel. So even if
I
it's just as
listen,
confusing as the last one,
I
I still
can't
need more information.
confirm that there's a sequel coming. Um, but there's a sequel written.
Ah, there you go.
I'm slowly pressuring Archive to release Heart Eater.
There you
Um,
go. Hey, hopefully it did well for hopefully the first book did well for them enough to consider it. I hope so. I know it's gotten a
they're
lot of.
branching out into like official chat books now,
Okay,
which is great. So I think it bodes well for my
good.
chances of getting a sequel. Revenge Arc was one of those like weird lightning strike moments where they were accepting submissions, and I had this weird thing, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to take a look at this?" And they're like, "Yeah, we don't really publish stuff that long, but let us take a look at it." And then they were like, "Well, we could maybe figure this out." And it's like, yes.
Yay. Yeah, no,
But
that's
now there's a
awesome.
precedent for longer publishing over there. So fingers crossed.
See, there you go. See, I think, you automatically have an end now. You set the precedent, you get to keep going with it.
I get to keep going.
Exactly.
I have to frustrate people more.
Exactly. That's so funny. All right.
I
Well,
also
go ahead.
just in between those, I do have one other like little novella. I didn't advertise it well.
Okay.
Uh, because it came out when I was not feeling real well, and also I'm not the best at marketing stuff. Like I'm trying to learn about
Same.
self-publishing, but like I'm learning at like my interest is in the technical aspects. So like once I figure out how to do something and it gets done, it's hard for me to be like, "Oh, hey, buy the thing." Like,
Yeah.
but I do have a book, and this was really a fun project that we put together um where like five authors got together and to kill five characters, and each one of us
Hmm.
killed one character per book. It's called All of These People Are Going to Die. I wrote the
Okay.
fourth installation of this. It's
I
called
think
Heck
I have it.
House, and
I
it's
think I have it, but I'm not I must not have that one yet.
it's I kind of think of it as like a precursor to the Desert Island game.
Okay.
I wrote Desert Island game first, um officially, like that was the order that it came in, but
Right.
while I was still kind of editing down Desert Island game, I wrote Heck House, which it plays very much with similar dynamics where it's like very isolated, and there are not a lot of characters, and you get to the end and you're like, what? Um, so I wanted to shout that I wanted to shout that project out
Yeah.
also. Because everyone that worked on it, I think I'm probably the smallest name that actually had an installation in there. Worked with Dee McCluskey, and Ruth Anna did the covers for them, and that was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. I had not I had seen you posting about it. I missed it I think part of it was also that I was like, well, it's a part 4 of
yeah,
5 thing. I don't know if I really want to read all the other parts. So
I
is it
know how that
possible to read
goes.
it without reading all the other parts?
Yeah, they are completely standalone.
There you go.
So
Okay, cool. Yeah, I will definitely check that out then. All right. You also had towards the end of the year, you also had your short story collection, Kill Your
yes,
Darlings, come out.
I did.
Which I read a little bit on that. Was it was a bunch of stories that you couldn't get published anywhere else in any other
Yes.
in any other anthologies, and it was, I guess, a bunch of stuff you wrote before you found your voice in a way,
Yeah.
you said as well.
There's a lot of
Why don't you tell
transition
us more about that? Yeah.
stuff in there. And I think that's kind of the thing is because there's every writer kind of has like stages in their career, and
Right.
there are 15 stories in there, and I really liked them when I wrote them. I really like them now, and there's still part of my brain that's like, it's crazy to me that these didn't get picked up. Um,
Right.
but because there are a lot of stories that I write and I send out and I get the rejection and it's like that makes sense. And I just kind of recycle the idea, you know.
Right.
They're not all winners, but but I did have like this collection of stories that I was just really attached to where in between because I a lot of my early work, the stuff that I had published first, not that I want to say it's great because I published some questionable stories also when I started. Uh, because I was, you know, like fresh out of high school and I had like a lot of I'm a sad, sad zombie stories, you know, and nobody needs to read those. But I did a lot of I played a lot in like, you know, here's my take on a zombie, but it's sad, and here's like my take on a ghost, but it's also sad, you know, and it was like that was kind of how I learned to write. And then and I saw like some success a little bit, like the inklings of success, and then I went on to freelancing, and you know I kind of quit trying to publish for a while, but like when I came back to it, I knew that I didn't want to go back to just writing like very traditional stuff.
Right.
um and I ended up with all of these stories that were just I think they're more reflective of kind of where I was headed, but they're not necessarily like where I landed. Like the voice isn't quite
Right.
mine. Um, a lot of them are longer and slower, and they're still very descriptive and narrative because that was kind of what my style had been. But then there's
Right.
like the psychological, is it happening element. There's like there are little bits of the out of the box, you know, what if I wrote a story that was like told in email? And you know, this one is a ramen recipe, and like there's some weird stuff in there. But it wasn't like I was not ready to commit fully to doing weird stuff yet. And these were the ones like from that era that just like never did get picked up. But I was still querying them at the beginning of last year, and it felt kind of weird because it's like I would send them out, and then it's like I feel like I would have had a better chance if I had like written something new for it, which I think is kind of new how I knew that I had evolved past that stage of, you know.
Right. No, that's cool. Yeah, no, I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I will eventually. You and Angel both put out like your short story collections like right next to each other, and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, this is so much I gotta read now. And so so plus all the other stuff that I'd already bought that I'm just like sitting on. But yeah, no, it sounded interesting, yeah, because I figured you know, and it sounds more interesting now that you say that, like, that they were during a transitionary period towards your voice, and not necessarily the early works that were more
Yeah.
sad things, because that might not be as fun.
And
But
you can kind of tell like I hadn't quite shaken off. I don't think the sad thing, but and
right,
again from being an overwriter, like I there's just this part of me that wants to describe stuff
yeah,
constantly, and you can see it in there, and it's like, you know, I did have the choice to kind of go back in, and I cleaned them up a little bit, but I try not to take out like all of that quality because that is kind of where I was at when the
right,
collection came together, you know.
yeah. No, that's cool. No, I like that because um it's fun to see like a writer who, the growth in a way. um and I get it totally with the description thing too, because that's something that, as a person who read a lot of Stephen King when he was younger. Stephen King has a
Stephen
lot of
King.
description. He's ridiculous with the description. He's literally thrown me off of books because, like, I was reading The Stand. I was trying to read The Stand, and I got only so far into that before the extreme amounts of description threw me off. I put the book away and had to, like, and ended up picking it up 6 months later and plowing through the rest of it. But
Yeah.
it was just like, it was so much description. I was just like, okay, okay, stop. That's too much. So I do like, and that's where I'm kind of at now with my reading, is I'm more into the short story and novella aspect. more than anything else because it's quicker, it's easier to just read real fast and just be done with it, just
Yeah.
enjoy a quick story and not have to be super invested in anything. Sure, I might get to the end of something like Revenge Arc or the Desert Island game and want more from it, but I still leave satisfied enough that I had a good time with that story. So that's where I'm at in my life now, and I'm digging that there's so many people like you and like a few others who are just kind of doing that now. That's where
Yeah.
you guys have found your niche, and you guys aren't trying to do the big great American novel and everything. You're
No.
just like, I'm just going to put out these fun stories. That's all I need to do. And sure, I get it. As much as you may want to be a big writer at some point and be that person who sells something like that, I think from what it seems like from the outside perspective, that most of you are just content being, okay, I'm still going to do my day job. I'm still going to do this,
Mm.
but I'm going to write my fun stories, make a little coin off of that. Literally a little. But I think you guys have more control over that too, because you guys aren't beholden to the big presses.
Yeah.
You guys can do more fun, weird shit that you can't do with them. And I like that a lot more. Just from
I
the
like it
reader perspective.
so much more. It's harder for me. It's a lot harder for me to do stories like this because I grew up also reading a lot of Stephen King. I learned
Right.
how to write reading Stephen King, and I think there are a lot of us who did
Yeah.
grow up with King as writers that do have that very descriptive, it's okay if it's 1,000 pages because that's how long it takes to get to know the characters kind of mindset. So
Right.
that was like it was really hard for me to break out of. I think it's why like I had more, not that I queried for terribly long for my first novel before I switched to short stories, but I did write a novel that I briefly queried and I had more luck with short stories. And I think that's because we're in an era of writing where like a no-name writer just can't get away with that much
Yeah.
description. And I think writing short stories was a little bit more lenient of it, but it also like it got me focused on just kind of focusing on the idea and letting it be a complete thing. Learning how to cut back from like my novel length drafts to these short little novellas
Right.
has not been an easy experience, but I think it's been beneficial because I'm at a stage in reading right now also where I'm just adoring these like weird little, they take you like a few hours to sit down and
Yeah.
read, and you like spend the rest of your evening going, what did I just
You're
read?
right.
Like,
Like, what the fuck was that?
and
Yeah.
some of my favorite books from like the last few years, I know it's the one that everyone talks about, but things have gotten worse since we last spoke. Made me like want to write shorter stuff.
Right. I don't
And
know if I
like,
know that one. Who's that one by?
that's by Eric LaRocca.
Okay.
Um, it's actually so it wasn't the first one that I read that kind of got me on that bandwagon. I think that was True Crime by Samantha Kolsnick, but I was like I was working on Revenge Arc already. I was like gearing up to do it. It was outlined, and I'm like trying to psych myself up for this because I didn't know at the time if anyone would take it. And
Right.
I read Things Have Gotten Worse, and I almost quit. I almost was like, I don't need to write a thing because at the time it was like it's a it's not true to source formatting, but it is written all in like Craigslist ads and chat logs. And I
Oh,
was
okay.
like, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I can top this because it's just like it went viral and everyone really liked it when it came out. And
Oh,
I
wow.
was reading it and it's like this is unsettling and like I don't know if I should be doing this. Because what if it gets compared to Eric LaRocca? And it was like it was very intimidating. But it just that concept of being because it's like 100 pages, right? Like it's not a long book, and I just
Right.
I have been really taken with those short little like Transmuted by Eve Harms is another one where it's just like you sit down and you read it and then you're just kind of lost for the rest of the day because you're like, oh boy,
That's funny.
traumatizing
Yeah,
stuff.
no,
But
I'm
yeah,
yeah.
I
Go
try to
ahead, sir.
write that because that is like what I'm reading the most
Right.
now. And that kind of scares me because lately I've been reading less short books and I've been reading more like more of the 800 page epic fantasy. And it's like, I don't want to have to do that.
You're gonna have to buy one of Ruth Anna's covers on those.
I know. They go so fast. The fantasy ones go so fast. I don't
Do they? That's
gonna have
so
to
funny.
commission her. I woke up and was like, I'm going to buy this dragon one, and it was gone. And I was like, okay, never mind.
That's
Saved
so
for
funny.
another day.
So funny. Yeah, and that actually leads well into our the next portion of this conversation is you buy a lot of covers.
I do
Um,
buy a lot of covers.
there's a lot of cool people out there besides Ruth Anna. What's his name? Matt Barnes.
Hmm.
I can't think of everybody, but there's a lot of people out there. Angel's making her own covers, and
She
I'm gonna
is.
get to that one in a little bit too because I
Ooh,
bought one of her covers.
yeah, you did.
Um, but
That was another one I
well,
woke up and was like, I'm gonna do it.
yeah, let's make a quick aside. I'm not a writer. I had dreams of being a writer when I was younger. I don't have the focus. I blame my undiagnosed ADHD. Um, and I just don't. I get distracted way too easily, so I can't sit and focus on a story without without that distraction. And so I understand that. But I love the covers people have been putting out. And Angel was putting some out. And Angel puts out very affordable
Yeah.
covers. They're like $10 each. And so I love that about that. And so I was just like, I saw one, she put one out that I really was like, oh my God, this is actually kind of weirdly like it suddenly struck an idea in my head that I would love to sit and write one of these days. I'm trying. I'm working it out in my head, is what I like to say.
Yeah.
Um, but eventually I'll sit down and try to write it out. And if nothing else, maybe I can work with somebody else to kind of bounce. I think that's what I need more than anything is I need to have somebody that I can talk the story out with, and
Yeah.
then like kind of just work it all out. And then that way I can actually start writing it because then I'm like, okay, does this idea work? Does this idea work? And then that way um and I know people do that. I know some people will have people that they bounce ideas off of. I don't have anybody yet that to kind of do that with. I've got my friend Donna who's been on the show as well. We've talked about doing that. She's got a story that she wants to do too. We just haven't sat down and actually had that time to do that. But yeah, no, so I thought of an idea immediately based on the cover of that book. And I was just like, oh my God, okay, I need to buy this. And luckily you hadn't bought it yet. And and she had it. It was only a couple of days that she had it up. And I was just like, I gotta
Yeah.
grab that. I gotta grab that quick. So then I paid her the money. She did it. And then I talked to you and to her, you two people first. And I want to do it. It's going to be a book of short stories. I have an idea for at least one, maybe two, one that fits the theme, one that it maybe won't fit the theme, but I won't have any place else to put it. Um, but so I'm just going to shove it in there. But I talked to both you and Angel, and you guys said that you guys would be willing to contribute stories to it. It's just going to
Absolutely.
be, unfortunately, it's not going to be a paid anthology because I
It's
have
okay.
no money. Um, but if it makes money, I'll give you guys money for sure. But yeah, that's my idea for it. I'm gonna start reaching out to other people about it too because I think it'll be a very fun anthology. Um, that
I'm
eh,
all in on the theme for this one. Like it's
yes,
just it's exciting.
yeah. I don't know. I can't wait to see what you come up with because you and Angel like that those will be fun stories for sure. I started her last book that she put out, Mrs. Claus. I haven't I barely started it. I need to read more of it. So but
There's
yeah,
a character in Mrs. Claus based off
I
of
know.
me,
I
and I
know
love it
you,
so
Angel,
much.
and Tasha all have characters. And I'm like, where's my character? Why am I not in this book?
And the funny thing is, like, at first it was like, oh, well, it's just a name, not really based off of you. There's a line in there where it's like, oh, this is me. You've had to tell me this. Like, and
Yeah.
it's not a quote that my character has, but it is a quote that Angel's character has had to tell me in person. It's like, oh,
That's funny.
getting called out here in Mrs. Claus. No, but it's a
Right.
it's a fun read. I know
Yeah,
Angel's
no,
gonna do something really interesting for it for the
yeah.
call.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. I'm excited to put something out that'll be like with my name on it and everything. And it's obviously gonna just be self-published. I'm just gonna throw it up on Kindle up on Amazon and everything, make it, you know, do it that way. Um and I gotta figure out
Nice.
all that mess as well. But yeah, no, I just want to do something that's fun that'll use that idea and just put something out there in the world that's got my
Yeah.
name on it, because that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, but that goes into your buying of covers as well.
Yeah.
You buy a lot of covers,
I
which
mhm.
you did put you recently put out last year. Who was it that you were buying the covers with? Was it from Matt Barnes?
No, it was from A.A. Medina.
Oh, A Medina, right. So he was putting a bunch of them on sale, right?
Yes.
A bunch of
He had sort of a clearance, like
yes.
I need the hard drive space. I'm deleting all
Right.
of these. And my cover hoarding, like whatever dragon chemical in my brain that needs to hoard covers was like, no, um, you're not deleting these. And I made it a big thing.
You
Uh,
did. I remember.
wait,
I didn't get to participate in the sponsoring, but yeah, you did a whole
that's okay.
sponsorship thing. Why don't you
I did do a
explain to everybody what all that entails?
yeah, it ended up being a bigger thing than I anticipated it being. Because I very often have ideas where it's like I'm gonna make a big fuss about this, and then it's just me shouting into the void, and I get it all out of my system, and it's fine. This one really picked up because he said that he was gonna delete these covers, and I was like, no, I didn't have any money at the time, and but I was like,
Yeah.
I we've got to do something. So I opened up a thing. I opened up like a sponsorship, and I think the first iteration of it was just like, if you buy me the cover, I'll dedicate the book to you. And then people like started writing in like suggestions for other like perks, you know. And I was Angel actually was like, can you name a character after me? And I was like, yeah, sure. And she's like, can
Oh,
she
see.
die? And I was like, all right. I don't see why not. Sure. So like and so just gradually I started adding like perks to the list where it's like you
That's
can
awesome.
choose any of these things, like you can give me a prompt or you can title it or I can name a character after you to kill off, I guess is an option. Like and it became, yeah, just for like $25, you could like pick a cover and send it in and I would write a book and we're it took a little bit of time because which I was pretty
Well,
upfront
you
about.
actually have
I
to
was like,
write the stories.
listen,
Yeah.
I this is I'll clear space in my schedule for this. Like I'm not going to put it off indefinitely, but I do have like a job and work that I have to finish this
Yeah.
year and like projects that I it was while I was editing Desert Island Game, I think. And I was just like, I have deadlines to meet on other creative stuff. But if you want to do this, I'll put you on a list for 2024 and like we'll save the covers. I ended up saving so and other writers tagged into this also. Like I had a
Oh,
couple
okay.
people, which was the really surprising thing. Um, because I had like two other people, Towner Housden and Isolt Murphy, both reached out to me and were like, will you mind if we also open up cover sponsorships? And I was like, go for it. Like,
Yeah.
uh, and it became kind of a thing to organize at the end because it was like I was not prepared for people to like tag on, but I thought it was amazing that they did. I ended up with 9 cover sponsorships, and then the one for charity that's coming up. We actually have open
Okay.
calls for that. They're not open quite by the time this comes out, but through March, we're going to be taking
Okay.
literary cannibal stories to save one of those covers. And all of that money is going to Phil Abundance. So that's exciting. But yeah, so we did like one charity. I got 9 other covers sponsored outside of the charity one. in total, we ended up saving like I believe 30 covers from being just
Wow.
like deleted. And it was a really exciting experience. But yes, now I do have all of these sponsorships that are coming out this year, which was a big reason why like Heck House and also Puppet Shark last year, because it was like I had better learn how to self-publish real quick. Like
Yeah.
got 9 of these on the horizon and I don't know how to do this.
Well, and then you did something really cool that at the end of the year you said, "Hey, I'm going to put these out. They're going to come out throughout the year, but now if you want to um join into this kind of book club thing,
Yeah.
you pay this $35 and you'll get the 9 books early.
Yes.
That's pretty much the gist of it, right?
Yeah.
They each book comes out to whoever signed up for this um slightly before they come out to everybody else.
Yeah.
Now I think you said that they're going to be cheaper when they come out.
They're
Um,
going to be the ebooks are going to be a little bit cheaper when they're
right.
released, but doing the I book club is probably that's probably what I should have called it. I think I called it a
Yeah.
subscription.
Yeah.
Um which actually we were raising money for Medina again actually. Uh
Right.
so I had the bright idea because all of the books need edited uh and he was offering like an editing sale to try and raise money and I was like we can make something happen here. So I paid for editing in advance, which was not my plan
Right.
initially, but it ended up working out, and like the subscription book club sales all went to help kind of eat some of the cost of paying in advance for the editing of 9 books.
So at this time on January 15th, is it still possible to join that book club subscription or has that been closed now?
um it has been closed, but
Okay.
you can still read along one book at a time
Yeah.
if you would like. I'm hoping just because I'm not, we've talked about this already, I'm not great at
Yeah.
marketing self-published stuff, but because these were all sponsored, like I am going to be a little bit better about like, hey, so and so sponsored this book,
Yeah.
and we'll be talking about them a little bit more on socials organically because there are so many other people involved in this project. Like
Right.
it's not just
Right.
me like, please buy my book, buy the book, buy the book. Like
Yeah.
it'll be, there's a lot of thanks to give, and then obviously I'll be promoting the amazing, like all of these covers are just so gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love all of them so much. So there will be a lot of promoting of the artist, and Ruth Anna made me a logo for the
Nice.
series, and we're gonna have some fun with it throughout the year.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I jumped on it. Luckily I had money at the time, so I jumped on it. I believe I was the very first person
You were the first
to pay
person.
for it. So yeah, no, I'm excited for most of the books. There's a spider book that I'm not interested in. But I'll probably still read, even though it'll probably give me the heebie-jeebies. But
That one gave me the
uh
heebie-jeebies. I'll be honest. I'm also
yeah,
not a spider person. That was that was a bittersweet moment when that particular cover got sponsored because I was like, "Oh yay, good art," and then it was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna have to write about spiders again."
yeah. Oh. Yeah, yeah, that one's probably my the least one I'm looking forward to, or the one I'm least looking forward to. But the kind of you had one that's kind of got like the femme fatale on it. That was the one that I was most
Yes.
excited about because I do like me some uh like pulp fiction-y type storylines and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of the hard case crime books and stuff. So
I
yeah,
think
I'm interested.
that one and there's the skeletons with the balloons. And, and I think those two are the most indicative of my writing style
Okay.
because the skeleton with the with the balloons, you're kind of like, what is happening here? And then I don't tell
Yeah.
you, and that's the book.
Yeah.
Um, which I think checks out. And then the other one with the femme fatale, that one's very like isolated. It's very
Right.
much like I found an uncomfortable situation and you have to be here for a long time.
Wow.
until the book ends.
I'm
So
excited. I'm excited, especially for that one, because like I said, that was my favorite of the covers, and I was glad to see you grabbed it. And and it sounds like it'll be a fun story.
I think it'll
So
be fun. I'm looking forward to all
yeah,
of the stories. It's a fun mix of like things that I usually do and things that are going to be kind of some new territory for me. And
right.
I think the good thing about the deal, I think why a lot of people did end up hopping on that deal was because it's it's nine different stories. You know, if you don't like one of them, chances are there's still something for you like in the collection
Yeah,
because it's a very wide range of subgenres. So,
definitely. Yeah, no, that's very cool. I dig it. I'm excited for it. When does the first one come out?
so the first one I'm hoping, fingers crossed, is going to be out in March. That
Okay.
leaves one a month for like the whole year.
Right.
But it is kind of pending editing,
Right.
because my editor is very, very busy. And I scheduled like a block of time instead of
Yeah.
so I editing is going to start in February, and we'll see
Okay.
how close to March I'm able to get. There is a small chance that this spills over into 2025 because I think if we miss March, the correct solution is going to be to spill over by, you know,
Right.
instead of like trying to do double releases. But that's also a big
Yeah.
reason why I wanted to wait until March, because it's like that gives Desert Island game a little bit of time to
Yeah.
be
Yeah,
out there.
exactly.
And so
Okay.
I think it'll work out. But yeah, hopefully March. The first one is called Still Waters. It is the one that I did not like obscure in all of the promotional material for the sale. So
Yeah. That's cool. And I just saw on Twitter, just reminded me again that you and Angel Krause are both doing a zombie epistolatory or epistolary. I see, I always say that wrong. Epistolary book, short story
yes,
collection.
short
And
story
so,
collection.
yeah, and
So
you
if you
guys
wanted
are,
some practice writing and you wanted to send that in, you
yeah,
wanted to do a trial run of your of the upcoming anthology, we would
yeah,
take work from you.
yeah. Probably wouldn't have anything in time. What is it? It's open until February 1st. So yeah,
Nice. So get
definitely
busy.
check.
Like, what are you doing
Yeah,
on this
exactly.
podcast? Go right.
Exactly. Well, hopefully you're listening to the podcast while you're writing. So, as long as podcast listening doesn't distract from your writing,
Yeah.
might be too much to focus on. But yeah, no, sounds like a lot of cool stuff coming up. There's a lot of cool stuff already out. Um,
Yeah.
and do you have anything else besides these what we've already talked about, Desert Island Game, Dark Blooms, and your book club
Uh,
subscription stuff coming out this year?
I do have some stuff coming out this year. I think the only one I'm allowed to announce, it's hard because if we had done this in February, it would have been too late for Desert Island Game, but I would have been allowed to talk about a few more things. I
Right.
I
We can
have
always circle back.
I have one secret project that I'm really, really excited about
Ooh.
that legally I'm not allowed to say that I'm working on, but I have been working on it. It might involve another movie,
Oh,
and I'm
interesting.
excited. Uh, and then I do have another just weird little novella going on that I can't quite announce the name of yet, but I do have another one coming out from Slashic. Um, I believe it's coming out August 15th. Because we do releases on the 15th. I think it's coming out in August. It's called My Apologies to Tanya Grace. It is you're not gonna believe this. It's a queer, sad little novella, and it's
What? Another
epistolary.
one?
I know.
You found your niche.
I found my niche.
Yeah.
But but yeah, Slashic has picked up another one of my they're willing to deal with me again. So that'll be coming out later this year, and I'm looking forward to it. I
Yeah.
think it'll be fun.
No, me too. I'm pretty much down for anything you write. So I'll be looking forward to it all.
I'm glad. I hope that stays the same after you read the spider book. I think the two
Yeah,
ends of the spectrum.
I'll probably just stay away from the spider stuff after that point. Yeah, no, yeah, that one's gonna be a tough one for me for sure.
I did a spider book one year for NaNoWriMo, and it was so funny because it was like, I don't know. I woke up every day and it's like, I don't like writing this. Why would I do this to myself? And it was like 65,000 words too. It's like, this is too
Oh
many spiders like in my
no.
workspace right now. This is unfortunate.
Yeah, gross. Ah. All right. Well, I think that's all I have
That's it.
question wise for you today. Um, but I thank you for coming on and having
Yeah.
this conversation. It's been a lot of fun. And I'd like to do this more with other writers in the future. But I have to read stuff first
Yeah.
to get to that point. Luckily, I'd read enough of your stuff that I could sit there and talk about it. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely want to do this again, and we can come back and visit this again, maybe on one of the normal episodes. Would just add a little addendum to it
Yeah.
about more stuff in the future. So about your future projects that you have coming out. So and talk more about
Exciting.
the book club stuff once I've read a few of them.
Yes. And
So
you have until, if everything goes according to schedule, you still have until like October before you have to read about any spiders, so it's fine.
good. Um, yeah, definitely. I'll put that one off. I may put that one off to the end. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, no, it should be fun. I'm excited. I'm excited to check out all those books. And definitely, everybody, if you haven't read the Desert Island Game yet, which you probably shouldn't have until today when this drops, um, go out and grab it. It's a super fun, super quick read, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. All right. Well, as usual, why don't you let people know where they can find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at cat_voleur. That's VOLEUR. You can check out my website, catvoleur.com. I'm getting a little bit better at Instagram, just cat voleur on there. And yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Well, great. I appreciate you coming on again. Thank you very much. It was great to talk to you about your books and your writing and everything, instead of the usual, movie stuff that we would normally get to talking to.
That being said, I'm excited for movies too, so
Oh yeah. No, I'm definitely going to have you back on real soon. Well, we can talk more about that off air.
wonderful.
All
Thank you
right.
for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks again to Kat for joining me for this special episode. Keep an eye out on Twitter and Instagram for upcoming episodes starting in February. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is a part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcast Network. Please check out morbidlybeautiful.com/podcasts for more great shows. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, please share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. Music for the podcast is Gratitude, composed by Jerry Smith. You can follow the podcast on social media at Creepy and Geeky on both Twitter and Instagram. If you'd like to follow me, I'm Geek Thulu on Twitter and Blue Sky, and geek.thulu on Instagram. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.